Hey guys, it's Mrs. Beak again, and I know it's been a couple of days since we've done one, but I took a few days off, had other things I had to do, teacher stuff. But what we're going to work on today for Algebra 1, and this could also be used for Pre-Algebra Math 8, is we're going to talk about solving equations. We're going to take this in a series of videos. We're just going to take it step by step. We'll start out with the basics, and then we'll move up to the complicated stuff, just adding one little step at a time. And I don't want to do too much in one video because we all get bogged down. But let's start with solving our basics. So here we go. Okay. So the main idea with solving an equation is to get your variable, whatever it is, by itself on one side of the equal sign and everything else on the other side. Now we're talking about equations with one variable. That's our primary goal today. So if I have something like x plus 5 equals 9, I want this x by itself. So the number one thing anytime we're solving an equation is we are trying to get the variable alone. You know, this is nobody likes the variable. We wants to be off by itself. It is practicing social distancing. Equals is the dividing sign. Equals is the dividing line. It wants everything away from it. So let's look at what we would do here. Well, let's think about this. X plus 5 equals 9. If we think about it, we go, what plus 5 gives me 9? Well, that's easy. 4 plus 5 is 9. That's just a math fact we know. But what if it was a different number? We need a process for this. Now, if we look at this, if x is by itself, that means I want to get rid of this plus 5. So how do you get rid of 5? If you have a plus 5, how do you get rid of it? You do the opposite. We call these inverse operations most of the time, but we're doing the opposite. So if this says plus 5, how do I get rid of it? I subtract 5. But every equation is like a balance. You have to keep what you do the same on each side. So we do the same to both sides. So I perform the same operation on each side. So if I subtract 5 on the left, I have to subtract 5 on the right. You'll notice I drew a little line here. This is kind of my balance point. This is to remind me that I have to keep both sides of this balanced, and what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So when I subtract 5 here, did I take anything from x? I didn't, so the x comes straight down. 5 minus 5 gives me 0. Now I can write that plus 0, but mathematically, do I have to have that? No. The equals is right here. 9 minus 5 is 4. So I've succeeded. I've proved that 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay, so x equals 4 is my final answer there. That's not bad. If I had x minus 3 equals 12, I'm going to follow the same procedure, but let's look at that opposite operation thing. I want this x by itself. What is the opposite of subtracting 3? Well, the opposite of subtracting 3 is adding 3. And I must do it on both sides to keep it balanced. The x comes down because I didn't do anything to it. Negative 3 plus 3 gives me 0. 12 plus 3 is 15. So with addition and subtraction, it's not bad. It's really nice. Very straightforward. Here we go. Just do the opposite. Now, next one's a little trickier. 2x equals 18. Well, what does 2x actually mean? 2x means 2 times x. Anytime you have a letter and a number side by side like this, it's the number times whatever value I'm going to put in for the variable. So if this is a multiplication problem, what's the opposite of multiplying? Well, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That goes away and leaves the x behind, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. And we think back to our math process. Do we write 1x or do we just write it as x? We just write it as x. Now I have 18 divided by 2. Well, 18 divided by 2 is 9. So 2 times something equals 18. We know from our math facts that 2 times 9 is 18. So we can go back and check our work. Awesome job. Now the last one is probably the one that gives people the most problems because it involves the F word. Not that F word, the math F word. Fractions. I know how much y'all love dealing with fractions, okay? Fractions are just a division problem. That's what they are. When I say x over 3, I'm saying something divided by 3. That's what a fraction is. It's just a division problem, and that's what we need to remember. You could be like Mr. Barber always says, fractions are fractions need friends too. Don't always listen to Mr. Barber. But anyway, so I have x over 3 equals, we'll pick 9 just because, okay? Now, if this is a division problem, how do I get rid of division? What's the opposite of division? The opposite of division is multiplication. So now let's look at this. If there's a 3 on the bottom and I want to make it disappear, I have to multiply by a fraction that has a 3 on the top so that they can cancel out. Okay? And I'm going to put a 1 right here because I don't want to add anything else into my equation here. And 3 over 1 is the same thing as 3. Now, if I multiply the left by 3, what do I have to do to the right? I have to multiply it by 3. So something divided by 3 is 9. That something is 27. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down 4 problems. Once you have these 4 problems written down, well, actually, I'm going to write 4 problems down for you. I want you to pause the video, work these 4 problems. When you finished working these problems, I want you to restart the video and check your work against mine. So let's see, what are our 4 problems going to be? N minus 11 equals negative 9. Let's see, negative 1 equals negative 4 plus v. For a equals 24, and n over 5 equals 9. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a minute. I want you to pause the video. I want to take a couple of minutes and work these 4 problems. Okay, now let's get to the answers. First one looks almost exactly like one we've done in our notes. So what we're going to do, I want the n by itself, which means I have to get rid of the minus 11. The opposite of minus 11 is plus 11. I have to do it to both sides to keep my balance. So the n gets left on one side. Negative 9 plus 11. That's like owing your brother $9 and having $11 in your wallet. If you pay off your brother, do you have money left? Yeah, well, yeah, you have $2. So negative 9 plus 11 is 2. And here's my answer. N equals 2. Now, how are these two different? Well, let's look. In this one over here, my variable is on the right instead of on the left. Is that going to change our approach to this? Well, I'm still trying to get my variable by itself. I'm still doing the opposite to move stuff around, so maybe not. So let's look at this. Here's my variable. I've got -4 that needs to disappear. So what's the opposite of -4? The opposite of -4 is +4. I do that to both sides. -1 plus 4 is 3. -4 plus 4 is 0. Plus v just gets written up as v, and it's done. Okay, next one. Oh goodness, letter beside a number. What does that mean? That means we are multiplying these two pieces together. What's the opposite of multiplying? Well, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So 4a divided by 4 leaves the a by itself. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So 4 times 6 gives me 24, and based on my math facts, that's correct. Last one is our F word here, a fraction. N over 5 equals 9. Remember, N over 5 means N divided by 5. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. Makes the 5's on the left go away and leaves the N behind. 9 times 5 is 45. The biggest key to one-step equations is knowing where your variable is and doing your opposites to get your variable alone. It's really easy to find extra practice problems if you want to go online. Type in one-step equation practice and you will get all kinds of things to practice with. Always remember, our primary goal in solving an equation is to get your variable alone. You are always going to do the opposite to move anything in your equation. Well, move anything to the other side of your equation, I should say. And you always want to do the same operation to each side of the equation to keep it balanced. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Now go practice. If you have questions, leave them for me in the comments or email me. And y'all have a great evening.